Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the session, From Dialogue to Action, Advancing Digital Cooperation Across Regions and Stakeholder Groups. So building on the outputs of the 2024 parliamentarian track and the discussions you've had in this room for the past 2 days, this is the open dialogue session where we have multi-stakeholder representation and consultations to bring together the members of parliament and key digital players to reflect on how to operationalize, how to concrete, tangible, inclusive, and collaborative policy-making efforts that you are doing all in your home jurisdictions. All groups are invited to propose collaborative and cooperative approaches to building digital governance and to identify practical steps for sustaining cooperation beyond the IGF. I'm your moderator. My name is Jennifer Chung. I'm from .Asia, and also the 2025 MAG this year. A little bit of housekeeping rules. So this session is scheduled for the next 90 minutes, sorry about that, and interpreted into English, Spanish, and French. It's an open dialogue, as I mentioned, with no panelists, but there'll be support staff around the room, and I think I see them, yes, holding the mics. If you would like to take the floor, please do raise your hand. A brief reminder, the previous sessions that you've had included many different experts from the technical community, from the private sector, from civil society and intergovernmental organizations. And members of parliament, I know you've been waiting for an open dialogue as well. I know you have lots to contribute in this session as well. And you've been discussing emerging trends on freedom of expression, information integrity, and other online harms. So we also have invited, of course, I see in the rows here, different representatives from the stakeholder groups, from private sector. I see representation from OpenAI, from Ally, from Google and Meta. From technical community, I see ISOC, there is APNIC Foundation, there is ICANN, there should be RIPE NCC, I think, in the room as well, and Center for Democracy and Technology. From civil society and academia, we have the Oversight Board, AfriSig, and Atlantic Council. We invite, of course, the whole of government, the executive, legislative, and judicial branch members to speak here. And from intergovernmental organizations, we have the African Union, GIZ, UNDP, UNESCO, UNICEF, and of course, the parliamentary associations and organizations. Before I open the floor, there are some brief guiding questions I think would start to get your creative juices flowing and thinking about things you'd like to share. And after yesterday and today's parliamentary track sessions, how can we operationalize concrete, inclusive, and collaborative policymaking efforts? Are there any proposals for cooperative approaches to building strong and efficient, effective digital governance? And also, finally, any practical steps for sustaining cooperation with members of parliament and other valuable and important stakeholders beyond the IGF? So now, without further ado, I'm going to open the floor, and I'm seeing in the front row there are already representatives that might want to start us off. Maybe Olaf from ISOC.
Shall I just turn around or stand up? Is that maybe? Hello, my name is Olaf Kolkman. I'm Principal of Internet Technology Policy and Advocacy at the Internet Society. That means a lot. It also means not that much. But at the Internet Society, we have been basically trying to operationalize this interaction with policymakers for, I would say, the duration of our existence. And one of the ways we have been doing that, and there are numerous ways, is through the funding and enabling and training of national and regional IGFs. That is a way where you can take the ideas that come out of the global IGF back to the national level and vice versa. I see this as a flying wheel. Ideas and new norms are being discussed, things that work are being sorted out at the national level. And of course, technology, most of the technology that we use today is global. Software is being developed global. The internet itself is a global infrastructure, a network of networks. But at the local level, we have perhaps different norms than in other places in the world, and we have different approaches to how we organize our societies. And things that work at one place might be an inspiration for other places. And I strongly believe that the national IGFs are sort of those collection points of norming, forming, and storming about solutions and operationalizing those solutions. And then bringing them back in the regional level and the global level where people can discuss them and bring them back as examples of how to collaborate and actually operationalize the things that you're dealing with within your local and national jurisdictions. I don't want to go on too long. I think this is, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Olaf, from Internet Society. Perhaps Raul? Raul from Ally, from private sector.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this session. My name is Raúl Echeverría. I am the Executive Director of the Latin American Internet Association. It's a private sector association in Latin America. We have in our DNA the idea of cooperating with policymakers, so we are always trying to find avenues of participation and collaboration with policymakers. As Olaf said before, we have in the region regional IGF, and we have also national IGFs in many countries of Latin America. The participation of governments and parliamentarians is not very high in the regional and local IGFs. This is something that I hope we could change with this, based on this experience of the parliamentarian track in IGF that allow many people to have an idea, a more concrete idea about what the IGF is and what the regional IGFs are. But in addition to that, we are trying to promote other possibilities of cooperation and working opportunities to work together. We recently organized a meeting in Mexico that were attended by 30 parliamentarians from the region. Our colleagues from Uruguay joined us in that meeting. So we are very hopeful in the sense that this is something that we are building, something in construction, but that will progress in the future with bigger participation. But there are other initiatives ongoing. I think that's if we take all these initiatives together, there are reasons to be optimistic in having a more cooperative work in the region. One thing that we have learned from all those years working in IGF and internet governance field is that the wisdom and expertise is highly distributed. And so only with the participation of everybody we can really develop not only the best policies that we need, but also at the right time. Timing is not a minor thing. So this is a reason to encourage people to work together. Those of us who come from the internet community are accustomed to what we could call maximizing the consensus opportunities. We are accustomed to do that. We work hard until we realize that we achieve the best possible consensus. And the traditional politics systems work in a different manner. work not in maximizing the opportunity of consensus, but based on the construction of majorities. That is a rule of democracy. So I think that we have to bring those two cultures close together, understand each other, and try to produce the best results we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul, for those really good collaborative proposals and suggestions. I now have on my list Abel da Silva from Timor-Leste.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. My name is, again, Abel da Silva from Timor-Leste. I'm a former chair of the Infrastructure Committee in the National Parliament. So I would like to propose a perspective from developing countries. I think, add on to what have been mentioned by the two previous speakers, I would like to propose three main points here. First is how to improve multi-stakeholder collaboration mechanism. Because we are coming from so many different backgrounds. You have Google here, big tech corporates with different interests, academics, governments, and also NGOs. So we have how to say, sometimes conflicting interests. So we need some sort of real mechanism for us to sit together and then discuss honestly about the issues that we're facing here. For instance, we need perhaps specific, how to say, specific group on AI, data privacy, misinformation or disinformation, something like that. So that will increase our capacity to work together. The second issue, the point that I would like to promote is how to harmonize regional and global regulatory framework. Because if you try to engage with countries from Western hemisphere, they have more advanced capacity to develop their own legal frameworks. But if you're speaking like from my background in East Timor, we have very, very, very limited capacity. So this kind of mechanism will help us to evaluate ourselves and then to plan and develop our capacity. The last point that I would like to suggest is that how to promote a more transparent artificial intelligence. Yesterday we visited the Parliament of Norway and they introduced something that's really, really important, really, really interesting, which is the more accountable AI machine. At the moment, we are fearing AI because it has been treated as a black box. We don't know how it reaches its conclusions. So that makes us very, very, how to say, suspicious of the machine. But if somehow we can develop a technology with a very transparent mechanism, then all of a sudden we don't need to fear the machine anymore. We have more transparent way of accountability for the machine, so in how it reaches its conclusion. So that's really, really important effort here. The last one, for the above three proposals, I think we really, really need to actually increase effort to enhance parliamentary capacity for digital policy-making process. And I think, speaking from my background, I think not only Timor-Leste, but other developing countries are in need of such capacity development process. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You brought up very, very good points because, you know, even in a multi-stakeholder model, if there are competing or conflicting interests, I think that is actually somewhere where you can have open and frank dialogue. It's really good. Building capacity is also extremely important. And of course, there's transparent and accountable development of emerging technology like AI. I'm going to next go to Raj Singh from APNIC Foundation, right in front. Raj, please.
Thanks, Jennifer. Good afternoon. My name is Raj Singh. I'm CEO at the APNIC Foundation. APNIC is the Asia Pacific Network Information Center. Our claim to fame is that over the last 30 years, we've helped build most of the internet in the Asia Pacific region. As you all, I'm sure, are aware, the Asia Pacific is a very diverse region. We have some of the most advanced economies in the world, and we have some of the least developed economies in the world as well. So the region itself has been a bit of a challenge in how we've been able to do things. And I was just listening to my colleague from Timor-Leste. One thing, a couple of things I would just like to say. As policymakers, you have a responsibility to reach or create outcomes for your citizens. But when you go down that path, I would urge you to consider that there are a range of technical experts around the world who are there ready to help you with those decisions. Oftentimes we see around the world, not just in the Asia Pacific, but around the world, there are decisions made at the policy level which don't really take into account the technical underworkings of the internet, the interoperability that is required to make things work. We rely on the internet every day, from your AI to whatever else that you use today. But what makes all that work is the internet. And once you start fiddling at the basic structure of the internet, you start creating a whole lot of problems that you may not realize. As I said, I have a lot of my colleagues here from the technical community. All of us are always ready to help you better understand, what the implications could be of certain policy decisions that you make. Now, I know there are challenges at the higher layers of the internet, the applications we use, the services we use. But when you are working at those layers and trying to control things or change things, ensure that the decisions you make at that higher level do not affect the basic core internet infrastructure. Because if we lose that basic core internet infrastructure, all this other stuff won't work either. So I think it's very important to recognize and realize that. One very quick other point I'll make, some of my previous colleagues spoke about IGFs and local IGFs and regional IGFs. APNIC Foundation has been supporting that since our inception as well. But there's another group that work in all regions which are also very, very important for you to recognize and engage with, and they are network operator groups. They're the groups from the private sector, from the public sector, from academia, who run the actual networks that we all use every day. Now, most of them compete at the commercial level, but they come together at these NOG meetings to solve technical problems. And again, in most of your economies, you will have network operator groups, and therefore you can be a good resource as well to better understand the technicalities of the internet and what policy implications, how policy implications could affect the actual technical and the workings of the internet. So I'll stop there. I've said quite a bit, but I'm happy to continue the dialogue, and I'll offer you my card, say, from Timor-Leste. We should have a chat. Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Raj. Very important as well. Near and dear to my heart because I'm also a technical community, and it's really important for our policy decisions to actually take into account the technical underpinnings of the critical infrastructure of the internet. Don't break the internet is what we like to say. I think next on my queue, I do have a parliamentarian in the back. I think lady with the glasses. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Anna Lührmann. I'm a member of parliament from Germany, and since yesterday, I'm thinking about a comment that an esteemed colleague from Kenya made yesterday in the bigger session, the bigger room. Namely, it was a very strong plea for IGF to provide a forum to actually support us as national parliamentarians in actually addressing the power dynamics that exist in the internet at the moment, which is that the actual power in the internet currently resides with the big tech companies that have in their respective fields quasi-monopolies in many areas, and that we as parliamentarians, as national governments, but also as the UN system as a whole, doesn't have power in this system. I think that's the fundamental problem that we should address here as parliamentarians, and that we should think about how we can use this forum, IGF, but also maybe potentially other ways of working together as parliamentarians across borders to actually address this issue, to make sure that we are the ones who voice the concerns of citizens, who voice the public interest, and that we get some power over the big tech companies that are currently playing with us as national governments, as national parliaments, as they want. Threatening to leave, threatening not to have a service, threatening not to pay this, threatening to maybe use some other tactics. And I think that's something that we need to work on and use this forum also to address this, particularly when it comes to hate crimes, when it comes to issues that we were talking about, digital colonialism, that is a key concern. I know from many colleagues here from the African continent. So I would like us to talk actually about that also as parliamentarians and think about that, while at the same time, of course, preserving the internet, the technology behind it, and as well providing a space for freedom of speech. So that at the same time is something that needs to be safeguarded. So I also don't want national governments or international organizations to limit the freedom of speech. On the contrary, to provide an even better realm for that, so that we can actually have a space where everyone feels encouraged and is not repressed in expressing themselves, no matter which gender, which orientation, which religion, which country. And I think currently we don't have that. So I came here to work together with you on creating that.
Thank you very much. You brought together a very, very important point, addressing the power imbalances. I think as well, having a multi-stakeholder process and a way to dialogue in the way that we can talk to each other at the IGF, that is very important. And I don't know, I'm looking at IGF Secretariat, maybe in the future parliamentarians can be even more integrated with the rest of the program, where we don't have to come to you or you don't have to come to us, but it is together we have a dialogue. That's very important. I think I have on my list next Rodrigo Goni from Uruguay. Yes. And yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I speak in Spanish?
After having listened to everybody and given what we know about the challenges that we need to face, I think that the parliaments do need to center this in their agendas, and they need to incorporate it to their activity. All these issues that we are seeing here need to be dealt with within the parliaments. And for this, we need to overcome mistrust that may exist. We need to change a paradigm that exists within parliaments today. We need to be not as reactive. We need to be more proactive. We do not need to try and control everything, everything that has to do with AI, internet. We need to find a space within parliaments that will allow us to challenge, to overcome all these challenges. And I would like to share with you an experience that we have had in Uruguay, and I know it has also been replicated in other parliaments, and this is a Committee on Futures. We have identified a model that puts into practice this multi-stakeholder point of view and also the anticipatory governance. It is a model that allows us to overcome the dichotomy between right and left. So I would like to invite all parliamentarians here today in the room to consider using this model. I know that some parliaments are already implementing it, as it allows the other parts, the allies, the internet associations, private sector, academia. It allows them to be integrated within these spaces in a permanent manner, not as an invited guest for one day, not as an invited guest at a different level, but it offers them the space within the parliament, which is the democratic space that we have and the best space to define and deal and address these issues, but with a different paradigm. And I think it allows us to address these issues in the way that we all would like to, because we do recognize that multi-stakeholder input is important. And we are seeing this within the UN. We are seeing how this model is being incentivized, and also how we want to have more innovative and anticipatory governance. And we need to apply this in a responsible manner. And as I said, it's already being applied in some parliaments, and we are seeing very good results. Thank you very much.
Very much, parliamentarian from Uruguay. Very important, actually. Again, multi-stakeholder model will help us overcome geopolitical tensions and possibly talk about very thorny and difficult subjects. The next person I have on the list is our senator from Pakistan. Please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to really appreciate this joint effort by the UN and IGF to put together a multi-stakeholder forum, because this is what was missing from the IGF, to have the parliamentarians and to build out a guided policy framework with everybody on board. It was extremely essential, and my compliments. And your launching ceremony today, where we could see the UN and the political leaderships all coming together, it opened new opportunity for solving the issues that we've been debating for years. Now, in Pakistan, the Senate of Pakistan is the first Senate that I know of has launched the AI-generated the chat platform, where they are going to provide and use the technology for transparency and sharing of the information for legislative purposes. And this, this initiative under the chairman of the Senate, Mr. Yusuf Gilani, is a unique model that would be taken forward. And you would see Pakistan leaping in technology in terms of the parliament. But for me, one more important point is that we consider internet as a public good, and appreciating that it is 2 kilometers above the ground still makes it within the bounds and the boundaries of the sovereign countries who have the right to legislate. Now, we are fighting over what is being legislated versus what is being violated. So what we are legislating in our own land is being infringed by companies, the platforms, who are very far away from us. So what we are trying to advocate is that please respect the law of the land. And when we are requesting you to harmonize with our laws, we find a very blanket answer that we are not responsible for the content that goes on the platform. This is the basic flaw now in the legislation that we have had, is providing intermediary liability protection to the social media platforms, absolving them of the content that is placed on that platform, which essentially is the responsibility of the social media company that runs it. So I would say that the parliamentarians who are sitting here to go back and review their legislation and see that we can put more onus on the social media companies to be more responsible with respect to the content. Otherwise, this is going to become very ugly, because I see the temperature of the parliamentarians going up very fast, because the citizens are demanding their online rights to be the same as their offline rights. But the countries are failing to give the guarantee of the online rights to their citizens in the same way that they could or be accountable for their offline rights. So I would say that the countries are now or have crossed that point where they were continuously sending the requests to the social media platforms and sitting on those requests waiting for them to take action. There is a review that is required by the social media companies, and I would request the IGF to put some sense into their heads and make them realize that before the water is actually above the heads, it's important to review the whole landscape in which we are working. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator from Pakistan. Very important points, especially internet as a public good, looking at learning from the unique platform that Pakistan is actually going to establish. The next person I have on the list is Nazar. Nazar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer and Celine, for putting this together. My name is Dr. Naza Nicholas Kirama from Tanzania IGF, and I also serve as the president of the Internet Society Tanzania chapter. Mine is just a very simple proposal in terms of actualizing programming of the capacity building, and my idea is that everything should now be upside down. They start from the parliament. For example, the national assemblies have all these permanent committees on, for example, infrastructure. So my idea is we do the programming for the capacity building, for the awareness within the parliament committees. So when the parliamentarians come to a space like this, instead of actually getting lectures from stakeholders, they start actually lecturing from the point of what they are actually achieving in terms of internet governance from their parliament. So the idea is to have everything anchored and programmed, within the permanent committees of the parliament. For example, in Tanzania, we have a permanent committee on infrastructure. So if we are able to anchor this and make it home for the internet governance in the parliament, we will be able to achieve a lot. I'm saying this because if you think about 10 years ago when UNDESA, make the Internet Governance Secretariat a home for it, we've been able to achieve a lot. So my proposal is let us institutionalize the programming of the internet governance things, I might say, within the parliament. So when they are doing the policy making and legislating, they are legislating actually from the lenses of internet governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazar, and thank you for sharing the learnings from Tanzania. I think you echo a lot of the things that have been said from Raj, from APNIC Foundation, from our parliamentarian from Germany, as well as Timor-Leste. The next person I have on the list has the mic. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Johannes Wallesverd, and I'm from the Norwegian regulator. Welcome to Norway. Pleasure to have you here. So just ignited by this fantastic overview that we need to go from talk to action. So I would just mention a couple of actions that you might be interested in, and I'm very interested to hear your reflection afterwards. So in Norway, we have created a multi-stakeholder group trying to generate increased trust in digital communications. It's a national expert group against digital fraud, consisting of police, banks, network operators, and security professionals. So what we're trying to do is then to do operational measures. So we actually managed to, through the MNOs, put up a digital shield, so to speak, around Norway, making it almost impossible to spoof Norwegian numbers coming into Norway. So for 6 months, there have been blocked 61 million numbers, mobile numbers. So the reason why I'm saying this is that the whole notion of action, you need to one of you explained it here, you need to also do it together with industry. So we have also tried to expand this notion of multilateral stakeholder together on a more global level. So we have together with industry, with something called One Consortium, it's the international carrier industry, to have together created something called GIRAF, which is the Global Informal Regulatory Anti-Fraud Forum. I know it's a long word, but so we are now 40 members, 40 participants in the meeting, including from Nigeria, also from Colombia, from the US, from Brazil. We have had participation from, in some of the meetings from Australia. We miss a little bit more of the Asian footprint, so if there are any Asian regulators, please contact me. The goal is to get a global best practice on enhancing digital trust. So I will give you, before I end, I will just give you 4 of the key elements that have come up. So it can be used either nationally, in your national legislation, or it can be more used internationally for a best practice. So 1, regulate. You can regulate nationally spoofing. You can regulate taking action against misuse and fraud. You can regulate age limits. Second, KYC, know your customer. You can regulate obligation that you should at least know the customer. Third, traceback. You should have some obligation to provide traceback of fraudulent traffic. Accountability, and also transparency. So we are now in sort of a pathway where we should maintain freedom of speech, but we should not have freedom of fraud. We should put up operational sidebars so that the good guys know where to go. And the good guys want to go in the right way, but we need to set up the clear path for them, the sidebars. And then we can build up reputation on those who want to follow the best practice, and those who don't, okay, we'll never have a perfect world where everybody will follow the best practice, but we can at least make it transparent who are following the best practice and who are not. So that's why we are also, in collaboration with UNODC, try to get there on board to endorse this best practice that we hope we will get ready next year. This is a 2-year project, so we are in a hurry, but we are going to try.
Thank you very much, and thank you, of course, welcoming us to Norway. It's a beautiful country. I think there was a call to action there about Asian APAC colleagues to actually find our Norwegian regulator, and it's good to know about the global best practice to enhance digital trust. The next person I have on the list is Becky Burr from ICANN.
Thank you, and thank you for welcoming us to Norway. It's a beautiful country. I just want to say what we're seeing today is a really good example of what's important about internet governance. ICANN is about coordination, not control. We're part of the ecosystem, and we work hard to ensure that that all of the policymaking that parliamentarians are entitled to do in their country, that all of the regulatory work is informed and has access to the technical information that you need to provide policies that are coordinated and consensus-based, practical and implementable and globally coherent policies. By working together in an environment like the IGF, all of us come together as peers. We then go back to our work better informed about what everybody else is doing and how the internet works and what we can do to make sure that it stays globally interoperable and resilient. We think that it's wonderful that there's this parliamentary track in IGF because you are all very important to maintaining a globally interoperable, not fragmented internet. I think one of the other speakers mentioned that the technical community is available and willing to provide technical input and information whenever you are thinking about regulation lawmaking. Please take advantage of the technical resources that are available in your country, in your region, and globally.
Thank you, Becky. Very important points. I mean, ICANN does a lot of the coordination of critical internet resources, and it's really good to hear also another aspect and view from the technical community. Next, I'm going to go to Kenneth Pugh, our senator from Chile.
Thank you, Jennifer Celine. I'm Kenneth Pugh, senator from the Republic of Chile, South America. Why is it important to be sharing our experiences here? Because maybe we face the same problem, but different ways. In our country, I started 8 years ago at the Senate trying to build a digital transformation agenda. The problem, this was not a political issue. Nobody marches for the digital agenda. There are no votes. My colleagues say, you're wasting your time. Well, I'm working for the next generation, not for my re-election. And that is very important because this should be a cause. And when we are speaking digitally, we need to secure the environment. So cybersecurity is actually a very important aspect. but not the traditional definition. It's a really broader definition, from data protection to protection of critical infrastructure, protecting the environment, but granting all the rights of the people, taking control of this information, but with digital ethics. We need then to add all these elements all together. So in our experience, and what I want to share with you, is our last 7 years. First, we created a law in order to define a month dedicated to these events, taking the good experience of Europe and North America. Cybersecurity Awareness Month, you can call it whatever you want. And a month to update information, threats, and everything they're changing, but also to force to have exercises, digital exercises, to prevent, as you have to face earthquakes, tsunamis, you have to train. And you have to train every year and check that capability. Companies, they use ISO and they, yes, make check boxes, but they really are not relying on what they did. Second, we create a forum. And a forum in a country is very special because you can have everybody. If we want to have a global governance, we have to first govern our countries and get together all the stakeholders and the meaningful stakeholders, because sometimes there are different levels. One little example of knowledge on internet, Wikimedia, Wiki Foundation with Wikipedia, they are the 5th most used website in the world. They're trying to get funds from everywhere. If we want to have a system like an internet without knowledge and proven logic checked, we need to invest in this. So we have to give them time in order us, the legislators, to work. Then having a forum with a platform, you have to have both physical connection and a platform working. You can get all the feedback you need for public policy. You need a strategy and a plan. What we did, we're using the university, the model of maturity capabilities of Oxford University, but planning to 15 years. 12 years, it's good enough. Why we say 12 years? It's a time that goes from grade 1 to grade 12. So it's more a political view rather than 5 or 10 years where you cannot really achieve it. What we are working now is to create a coalition of parliamentarians that have digital agendas. Digital agendas are very specific. It's a lot of knowledge. And we need this parliamentarian bench across our region. And our region is Iberoamerica. That means Spain, we have 3 colleagues from Spain, Portugal, Brazil, and all Latin American countries. We are 1 billion people altogether, and the artificial intelligence, which is now trained with machine learning, I hope for good, with models from Anglo-Saxon countries and data from them, they're not resolving our problem. So we are investing in our own models. Yesterday we were presented with a Norwegian solution. It's in Norwegian, but we are going to try to understand it. But now we're going to invest in creating models that can solve our problems. So we need to have this as part of our national strategy, build it, then make the coalition. We would like to work with all the parliamentarians with the digital agendas, that they really will be focused with knowledge on this, and to have this bench, to have it at the higher level. Global level is much more difficult, and that's something we're living for United Nations, but as I said, it's good to share the experiences and to see what's working, what's not working. In Chile, my colleagues call me the cyber senator because I'm always involved in these issues. I hope there will be many of you then in the same public policy way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, legislator from Chile. The next I have on the list is legislator, member of parliament from Romania, please.
Can you hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here. My name is Laura Gerasim. I'm member of the Romanian Parliament. And I'm speaking today not only as a member of a parliament, but mother of a 16-year-old daughter and of a 24-year-old son that they are using all the gadget and everything you prepare here or in your countries. And I also want to tell you something. I'm the president, I'm the chairperson of the Committee on Investigation of Abuses, Corruptions, and Petitions. And it is where the voice of the citizens arrive, where the voice of the institutions close. And I think here we are all together because of the values, and I want to remember you, these kind of values, the freedom of speech, the freedom to have the plane and arrive here to bring our culture, our problems, our worries. So please use this platform to promote peace, because if we have it online, we can keep it also offline. It is important to also have critical thinking, to have education for critical thinking, and to be sure that all together we use the algorithm for the people and not the people for the algorithm. Thank you.
Thank you very much from the learnings from Romania. A good reminder that we need to use this for peace. Again, quoting from someone that I know, the internet is a reflection of the society, and we need to have that also. The next person I have on the list is our justice from Egypt, Justice Sadal Majid.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, I've been hearing your nice comments, all of you, and I can find that there are some specific issues representatives are focusing on, like hate speech, respecting human rights, freedom of speech, this issue, and strengthening international cooperation. And I'm going to ask you, as a panel, and other stakeholders and parliamentary representatives, we have a legal framework which is organizing everything. We have many resolutions by the UN General Assembly on internet, on digital information, on cyber crimes, and most of these resolutions refer to international cooperation and ask states to strengthen international cooperation between them, and ask developed countries to assist developing countries in the issue of capacity building, because you can't engage international cooperation unless you have capacity for this. Recently, last December, the UN have adopted the United Nations Convention Against Cybercrimes. One of the goals of this convention is to strengthen cooperation between states to combat cybercrimes committed by means of communications and technologies. And then, as I mentioned before, it's repeat and repeat, please, international cooperation. So while I'm attending the forum, as a matter of fact, I didn't hear about this legal framework, the UN legal framework, that is, I am not saying it is obligatory. Sometimes it's obligatory after states sign the treaties or conventions, but why we don't use this legal framework as a base for our work, for our cooperation? And I'm putting this comment as a question to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice from Egypt. And it's really important to remember we do have treaties and legal frameworks, especially in the ones that would strengthen cooperation between states, especially regarding cybercrime, very, very important. The next person I have on the list, yes, right in the front there.
Thank you very much. Yekaterina Rayakov, Lithuanian Parliament. Well, there was a very good mentioning about the committees of the future. We also have a committee for the future, so we do collaborate with the stakeholders on a pretty much weekly basis, raising all the issues, all the questions. However, I'm also heading a committee for suicide and violence prevention. And I just want to talk about the dual standards, where legislation is already put in, but there are kind of dual standards regarding what social networks can do and what they can't do. Because every single time when we are on the open parliament session on YouTube, when we start our session, we name the name of the committee, and they block us because it's suicide, so it's out of the range. Then of course they reinstall. But there's so many harmful YouTube rolics that are not stopped. And again, we have quite a lot of accidents, and just very recently we have 2 lives lost because of the harmful TikTok challenges in Lithuania. So it is definitely important, what a colleague from Armenia told about the critical thinking. But again, the critical thinking, and this is the part of the program which is already fully integrated in our schools. And unfortunately, there is still a rise of addiction, also because the younger children could access restricted things via internet, unfortunately. And there are also quite bad statistics regarding the effect on the children. So unfortunately, I believe that I very much believe in the business and the responsibility of the business. However, nowadays, I see that there are definitely lack of a mechanism that is really working, because the longer we are looking for this balance, the harsher the response would be from the government. And we're talking now further regarding the harsh taxation of the platforms or the total responsibility on the content. So we definitely need to make it clearer, and to make it now, and also to make it more globally, because even, a national response wouldn't be enough. We definitely need it regional, and we definitely need it global. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, there's always this balance we need to strike, and I think it's impingent from the parliamentarians, those who are looking at this, to actually figure this out, the balance between child protection and online harms, and also an enabling, enriching environment where you can have knowledge and you can use this technology and network of networks for good. Next on my list, I have a representative from AfriSig. Is it Peace? Yes, Peace, please.
Thanks very much for the mic. My name is Peace Oliver Muge, and I work for the Association for Progressive Communications that, in partnership with the Research ICT Hub Africa and African Union, brings together the School on Internet Governance, African School on Internet Governance, AfriSig. And I will briefly say that this is a very impactful project that I have worked on in my life, and I'm very proud to share how impactful it is. We work in collaborations with the parliamentary track, with other partners that support the school, like GIZ, Luminet, ISOC, ICANN, PRR, Identical Digital, and host governments whenever the Africa IGF is happening. And through the parliamentary track, since 2003 until now, those are 3 years, we've had over 40 members of parliament come to AfriSig. Yeah, so it's really something great. And when you, in this room, we have very many AfriSig alumni members of parliament that have continued to meaningfully engage in the space. And not only at at Global IGF, but also at Africa IGF, at sub-regional IGF and national IGF. So I think this is a great way to build capacity of members of parliament and ensure that they can meaningfully engage in conversations of IGF, and yeah, make meaningful contributions in their different parliament. We only don't bring members of parliament, of course. We have other stakeholder groups that come, and some of the outputs that we have, all the output that we have are really resourceful tools that different stakeholders can use for policies and the rest. In 2022 first, we had a recommendation to the open-ended working group on cybersecurity, and we were giving out recommendations from the African perspective. In 2023, we made a recommendation, a multi-stakeholder recommendation to the implementation of the African Union data policy framework. In 2024, our output looked at the African Union Data Framework and the African Continental Free Trade Area Digital Protocol. And we also gave recommendations to its implementation. We looked at the two documents. And this year, we are finalizing on our output that is giving a recommendation to the CSTD Working Group on Data Governance. So this is something that can be replicated in other regions. And I just want to call out on anyone who is interested to support such initiatives, and we are very grateful to the parliamentary track. We're very committed to continue to do this and have members of parliament join the school and interact and engage with the different stakeholders that join the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peace. You brought together a very important point as well, capacity building, especially in the schools of internet governance. I know Africa region is doing a lot of very good work. I know Latin America has the South School of Internet Governance as well that does a lot of work for parliamentarians. In Asia Pacific, there is also APSIG and APIGA as well. The next person I have on the list is from Bahrain, the Shura Council. Please.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Munir Surur. I'm from Bahrain Kingdom, member in Parliament of Bahrain. I have some note I'd like just to share with you. We are all recognize that the digital world is shared the space. One where the government, the private sectors, civil society, and academia must work together. The more we build a bridge between these sectors, the great capacity will be promote and will be inclusive growth and address common challenges. Based on our legislative and our oversight experience, I believe we can focus on 3 areas. Enable legal frameworks by developing flexible and supportive legislation that promote the exchanging of data and best practice, while ensuring privacy and respect the sovereignty. Number 2, investing in human capacity. Expand the digital skills and capacity, build a program to bridge the knowledge gap across regions and stakeholders groups. Number 3, establish sustainable coordination mechanism by creating permanent platforms for dialogues and follow-up between countries and organizations to ensure country and measurable progress. Allow me also to highlight what Kingdom Bahrain is doing in this field. Bahrain has made significant progress in creating an inclusive digital ecosystem that supports innovation and collaboration. Our national strategy, such as the Economic Vision 2030 and National Communication Plan, have accelerated digital transformation across all sectors. Furthermore, Bahrain was one of the first countries in the region that introduced cloud-first policy to public sector service, paving the way we create openness and cross borders partner. Additionally, Bahrain has invested heavily in the capacity building through initiatives like Bahrain Institute of Finance and Tamkeen programs, which support youth and professionals in acquiring advanced digital skills. These efforts have strengthened cooperation between public and private sectors and enhanced regional partnership and supporting startup ecosystem to integrate into international network. Some practical recommendations I would like to recommend: supporting cross-border digital partnership between public, private, and civil society sectors. Sharing successful initiatives across region to scale up solutions that work. Launching dedicated fund and partnership to support innovation and local digital internships, especially in underprivileged community. In closing, strengthening digital collaboration across region and stakeholder group is not only shared responsibility, it is a real opportunity to achieve sustainable and inclusive digital development to everyone. And then I have a question, if you allow me, how we can leverage our experience to encourage deeper region collaboration and ensure that countries across the Gulf and Middle East can equally benefit from this achievement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Learnings from Bahrain and that call there for deeper regional collaboration. And I'll take that initiative to also call for deeper interregional and international cooperation as well. I do have I have 8 more on my list so far, but before I go to the next 8 speakers, I'm just wondering if we do have anybody from OpenAI in the room. I'm not seeing any hands. In that case, I'd like to go next to UNESCO.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Guilherme Canella. I'm the Director for Digital Policies and Transformation at UNESCO. But for many years, I was the head of freedom of expression and safety of journalists, so connecting these two worlds. So very briefly, 3 things that can contribute to the action part of the title. We have a joint agreement with the Interparliamentarian Union precisely to offer to MPs all over the world this overview of the international standards on freedom of expression applied to these different discussions we have here today. And there are some good news there. Last year, we launched a massive online course with the Interparliamentary Union. 3,300 parliamentarians and their staff did the course from 180 countries. So the first good news is that, as you can see here, there's lots of interest. Second important point, we can't forget about the staff of the parliaments, because parliamentarians rotate a lot. It's the logic of democracy, but their staff remains. So they also need to receive capacity building, and they are very much interested on that. And the third lessons learned, in many countries there are schools of parliamentarians, official institutes, and we need to engage them in this conversation as well. And all those things were very much part of this initiative with the IPU. With IPU, we are offering some technical support for parliaments that are drafting legislation about these issues, with the aim of guaranteeing that this draft legislation is aligned with international human rights law. So this is the first thing. Second thing, cross-fertilization between the different duty bearers. UNESCO also has a big program for training judges and prosecutors. Just from Egypt just mentioned the importance of this. We have trained 36,000 judges and prosecutors on these issues, and we are putting them in touch with the parliamentarians because some of the questions are similar. And we also have a global program for regulators, and also with UNDP, with electoral authorities. So putting all these different players together is essential because the problem is too complex to solve it alone. And the final issue, as a suggestion for the action, we also work a lot with women parliamentarians. which are particularly and unfortunately targeted with this current situation, technologically facilitated gender-based violence and so on. And there are several lessons learned from other constituencies. For example, the women journalists are also very much attacked, and there are different tools available out there that could be shared among those different groups. So from UNESCO, obviously, always ready to help. Thank you.
Thank you, UNESCO. Very important points, especially when we're looking at capacity building for parliamentarians, their staffs, their aides, and also schools for parliamentarians, especially pointing out women parliamentarians. I think the next person I have is right in the middle of the room here. Yes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lister. I'm Director of Governance at UNDP. So it's a good segue from my dear colleague Guilherme at UNESCO. And I will just add a few things to what he said in terms of what the UN system is doing to move from dialogue to action. So UNDP supports parliaments in our partner countries on many of the issues that we're talking about today in their digital and AI transformation. And we coordinate our support offer with other international actors, such as UNESCO, IPU, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and others. And so we work alongside those in supporting knowledge development, training, capacity building, peer expert networking, cooperation, and practical tools for regulation, oversight, and public engagement on these issues. And UNDP, together with IPU, co-hosts an expert group on parliamentary and digital policy to support this work. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of those in the room. And it serves as a global platform for parliamentarians, parliamentary staff, whom Guillermo mentioned, academics, and representatives from international organizations to exchange information on these issues, share good practices, and develop resources jointly. And we are joined in that expert group with representatives from other organizations, CPA, IGF, Parlamerica, and others. And in that light, just to highlight that UNDP is planning, together with CPA and IPU, a conference on the role of Parliament in shaping the future of responsible AI, to be held at the end of November in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So we're expected to bring together parliamentarians from across regions and parliamentary staff to further that conversation on parliamentarians and responsible AI. So I'm participating in another session tomorrow. This is a bit of a PR slot at 2:45, where we'll be talking about some of the lessons from that engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, UNDP, UNESCO and UNDP. Very good work that you do with IPU, and I think the call to action there is to go to this conference that's shaping the responsibility of AI in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, the next person I have on the list is Sean Marr from EY, right in the middle of the room.
Thank you, Jennifer and Celine, for inviting EY to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Marr. I'm the Global Vice Chair of Public Policy for EY. We're a large global professional services organization. I am not a parliamentarian. I am not a former parliamentarian. However, I have worked for former parliamentarians in the federal government of the United States, as well as for a former president. And one of our finest but least known former parliamentarians was a gentleman named Morris Udall from Arizona. And he was known for his patience, and he would often be among the last speakers in a very long meeting of his fellow parliamentarians. And he would stand up and he would say, "Everything has been said, but not everybody has said it." And then he would proceed to make his statement, touching on the comments of his various colleagues. So in that spirit, Jennifer, you've challenged us to think about practical steps that we can take to advance digital cooperation. And we at EY have thought and think a lot about that issue. and I would just make a couple of high-level observations. One is trust is the foundation of digital cooperation. And trust has two ingredients. One is communication. And forums like this play such an important role in advancing communication and understanding among all stakeholders in the digital ecosystem. The other is verification. And I don't know if we have anyone in the room who speaks Russian, but I want to apologize because I'm about to butcher your wonderful language. But the saying that comes to mind is doverya no proverya. Trust but verify. And that really goes to the heart, I think, of the challenge we all face, regardless of whether we're in the public sector, the private sector, the non-governmental space. How do we verify that the AI and other technology systems that we're developing, we're deploying, we're using every day, how do we verify that those systems are as we say they are, or as we believe them to be, that they're safe, that they're effective, that they're reliable? That's a critical issue that requires the work of all of us across society. We, as I say, spend a lot of time thinking about this. We believe there are practical steps that are being taken today that can continue to be taken in an expanded way to build trust in the technologies that are playing an increasing role in all of our lives. The foundation of our organization is audit, auditing companies, auditing governments. This is a foundational principle. So the technology that we see today does not have to be in a black box. It doesn't have to be something that's not comprehensible to us. We have the ability to understand it, to make sure it is properly governed, to make sure it complies with any applicable rules and regulations, and to make sure it is effective for the purposes that it's created. We would welcome an opportunity to talk with you more about some of the work we're doing in this area. But again, my thanks to all of you for everything you're doing here at the IGF in your home countries and around the world.
Thank you very much, Sean, reminding us trust is the foundation of digital cooperation. Next on the list, I have Senator Salisu from Nigeria.
Thank you. My name is Senator Shoaiba Falabi Salisu from Nigeria. I chair the Nigerian Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security, and I'm also the chairman of the West African Parliamentarians Network on Internet Governance. I'd like to speak to three issues very quickly. First one is an appreciation, the second is an observation, and the third is a request. Let me start with the appreciation. I'd like to appreciate the IGF Secretariat, particularly for this year's edition of the parliamentarian track. You could see how engaged the parliamentarians are, because the issues that we are discussing are issues that are very important to us. And I could see that parliamentarians, either from the global north, from the global south, everybody seems to be interested in the issues because the topics are indeed very relevant to us. And we must thank the IGF for this. And we must also thank the Secretariat for bringing other stakeholders, the UNDP, UNESCO, IPU, ICANN, onto the table. So I'd like to start on a note of appreciation. Now moving to observation. I discovered that almost all the issues are the same, particularly in the global south, from Malaysia to Pakistan to Mauritius, even Romania. The issue seems to be the same, the challenges of making laws, the laws that are more often than not trailing behind the development, and also trying to hold the social media big giants accountable. Be that as it may, how comforting will it have been if you have a US senator, a congressman sit with us, listening to us as we express frustrations, as Romania, as Philippines, experience frustrations as to the roles and what the big tech companies, who are largely US companies, are doing in terms of not respecting national laws, national values, and helping us to address the issues of disinformation and misinformation. I think it would be nice at the next IGF, for the IGF Secretariat, the same way we have senators from Europe, from Romania, from Africa, from Asia, to also have parliamentarians from the US to sit with us. So perhaps they can share their thoughts and views as to how they have been able to have legislations or moral situations to ensure that the big tech companies, the same algorithm, the same accountability that they have in their home countries, they also extend it when they come to other parts of the world. Lastly, the request. I have listened in the last 2 days to some of the very innovative and very creative means that parliamentarians from different parts of the world have adopted. I'm making a request on the IGF Secretariat. Can we have a portal, a platform where we could go and have a glimpse of some of this, where I can go and say, well, I am about to lead an effort to have a Cybercrime Act in Nigeria amendment. Is there anyone who has done something similar that can share views and materials with me? Or, oh, we're looking at amending the Data Protection Act. Is that something new that we need to incorporate from the recently adopted UN conventions? I think we need such a forum beyond the conversation that we have here, something that we can go on a regular basis, do peer review, share information, put inside there, and then have these conversations, not just within the period of the IGF alone, but on a long-term basis, even when we return back to our various parliaments. Again, I'd like to thank the IGF Secretariat for this opportunity, and I bring you the best wishes and goodwill of the government and people of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Senator Salisu from Nigeria. I think IGF Secretariat hears you loud and clear. We'll probably try to take that proposal forward as well. Next, I have Amira Sabir from Egypt.
Thank you so much. I am Member of Parliament Amira Sabir from Egypt, and it brings to my mind this kind of important dialogue, several tips actually. Whenever in Egypt we have a kind of a grant or a loan, I'm very keen to scrutinize on the topic of exchanging experiences, because sometimes we just have the experts coming from the UNDP, coming from whatever UN agency, they consult, but the amount of knowledge and experience that needs to be transmitted, it doesn't happen unless there is a certain track for transmitting this digital cooperation to national entities and parties inside Egypt. One other important thing is the experience which we had at APNIC. APNIC is a network. It is the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance. And this network is adding a lot to the African parliamentarians in terms of digital cooperation to see what really works in a country and what could possibly work in another. And when it comes to the role of legislators, was it to put a legislation on the table or to scrutinize the budget or to ask the government and hold them accountable for whatever topic related to internet connectivity, AI, any related topic?
the experience exchange is extremely important, especially for legislation. I introduced the first draft bill to the Egyptian parliament on AI governance, and I learned a lot from the space which had the EU Act, which had another contributions from diversified and different parliamentarians from Africa and somewhere else in the world. So what I suggest here clearly is that we meet from one year to another at the IGF. I suggest that all across the year, away from the African IGF2 or whatever other group of the IGF, the parliamentary track could have from time to time sessions that talk to the UN agencies, that talk to the experts, that brings all the stakeholders together, and also we could have a room for exchange of experiences along with other MPs. All the time, it's about the knowledge gap. All the time, it's about the exchange of experiences and how much of them could be inspiring others to move and to act. I think this could cross the divide in a way or another. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The learnings from the Africa region and Egypt, I think that's really important to actually tie closer, not just at the global IGF, but the regional schools, the regional IGFs, even the national IGFs. I think I have a very quick response from the IPU to the senator from Nigeria. IPU, just a quick response.
Thank you very much. And yes, taking good note of the observation and request from the Member of Parliament from Nigeria for ongoing exchange of information. What are different parliaments doing on these subjects we're discussing? So one of the initiatives at the IPU at the moment is to publish a monthly summary of parliamentary actions on AI policy. So we try to observe and report on which parliaments are taking different kinds of actions, whether that's introducing legislation, carrying out committee reports and inquiries, so that different parliaments can see what their peers are doing and can help to make contact and to learn from each other, as we do in this kind of forum, but also in other ways. And so what we're observing is that many parliaments, currently 37 parliaments are listed, many parliaments are considering framework legislation, but other parliaments are setting up specialized institutes on AI. Sometimes it's the Education Committee carrying out an inquiry, or the Health Committee, etc. There are many types of parliamentary actions, and it's part of our job to help to share that information and help you connect to each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, IPU. And from IPU, I have next going to European Parliament, Brando Benifei. European Parliament, please.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think that this topic is extremely relevant. We see from the different interventions. And I would like to underline that we are now, in this moment, as European Union, trying to do some very special process in this sense, so on the involvement of stakeholder groups, but also of across regions, which is the work based on the AI Act, of which I was the lead negotiator for the European Parliament, which is the code of practice, which is being developed with a multi-stakeholder discussion, with also academic leaders from other parts of the world, not from EU at all, that are contributing to, and in fact we are in the final phase on this code for how to operationalize the obligations of the AI Act for the most powerful models, the ones we define as bearing systemic risks because of their versatility and their unpredictability. So we are, in fact, the first case of rules that are the fruit of a co-legislative process regarding this specific very high level of the AI, the one that is, in fact, the engine of everything today. And this entails also the need to actually have, and I say that as a legislator, the cooperation of the actors that are regulated. Because the truth is, the institutions have difficulty in checking that we actually can apply these rules on such complex entities like very powerful big tech companies that are behind these very powerful models. So on one end, we need to avoid that this process is determined by these very powerful actors, because the objective of this regulating is in fact to put more transparency and more obligations to reduce risks on those very powerful subjects. On the other hand, we do need their cooperation, because to make these operational and to avoid a situation of extreme confrontation, but rather of cooperation in the way we implement the rules, we need to have this dialogue. And in fact, their active involvement, which was there in the development of the Code of Practice. This has brought to different results. I can say, as a parliamentarian who chairs the implementation working group of the AI Act, that there are stronger and, in our view, I know I can speak on this in the name of the working group, we have a clear position, a better, in our view, result in terms of defending fundamental rights, so reducing risks on fundamental rights, including damage to democracy through the very powerful models. While we could say that on copyright protection and downstream transparency, so from the larger providers to the various the various deployers that are under the original providers until we reach to the actual affected user, on this part of transparency, some of us could say we could get more. But in the end, we are finalizing that. That's going to be real at the beginning of August. And I think it will become, obviously, an interesting element to discuss how we regulate the most powerful models, but also, and I conclude, and this was the reason of my intervention, the way we did it, because it's a co-legislative, multi-stakeholder, in fact, involving people from outside Europe in this work that is very unique. If it will be effective, we will see. But the reasoning is the one I explained, the very strong difficulty that we need always to reflect on containing and controlling in a way that is effective very powerful actors that are exercising a state-like power sometimes, even though they are not. And the institutions sometimes they need to find a way so that they can be brought into a process and then can be more transparently checked. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, European Parliament. Noting our time is really coming to an end very, very soon, I have 4 last speakers on my list. I will tell you who they are so you are ready to take the mic. Next, I'm going to go to RIPE NCC, Desiree in the front. After that, I will come to Africa Union. After African Union, I will come to CIPESA. I think that's Lillian. And our last speaker will come from UNECA. Desiree, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Desiree Milosevic. I'm a RIPE Cooperation Working Group co-chair, and the RIPE NCC provides the secretariat for the RIPE technical community. And I really am pleased to see such a big room with a lot of discussion, very useful discussion, and just introduce the RIPE NCC as a technical coordination body whose work plays an important and essential role in maintaining the resilient and robust internet, and we do that with registering IP addresses and other key resources, and also doing the registration of these resources throughout Europe, throughout the Middle East, and the part of Central Asia. And the work of NCC contributes directly to the sustainable digital goals as well as the WSIS action lines by helping connect the unconnected And we work with many stakeholders, including governments and parliamentarians, to help them realize and build some capacity building for this important foundation that we run, which powers then all the digital services that run on this foundation, be it artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and all the applications and platform. With our capacity building efforts, we are not just doing the capacity building by involving other stakeholders, but also in upskilling engineers in these regions. So that is part of our contribution. I think the other thing I would like to say that perhaps today when we look at the Internet Governance Forum, which is the premier platform for Internet governance discussion, it is important to recognize that it has this record and has achieved a record of inclusive dialogue. And I believe this is what we need to come here together with tools and trust, the colleague earlier said from EU, and the time to share our expertise together and to support, to invest in our shared policy-making platform as we hear today, and hopefully also continue with these efforts. Because of the time, I think I will stop here, and please stop by, and we're happy to continue our conversation with the UIP, and the RIPE NCC is a member of the European Internet Platform, so these discussions are also taken back within European Union, and likewise there are governmental roundtables in Southeastern Europe, in the Middle East, and central parts of Central Asia. So we really welcome the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree, for highlighting all the good work that RIPE NCC is doing. And please do grab Desiree afterwards if you have any more questions. I'm going to come to the front now to African Union from Adil Suleiman.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak on behalf of the African Union and APNIC, the African Parliamentarian Network. When we established this network in 2022, we were very nervous. We wanted the network to survive, so we focused on two elements. We focused on making sure that it's a part of the African IGF. We have a fixed track on African IGF since 2022. And then we provided also capacity building, but it's not sustained capacity building. It was like a couple of sessions on capacity building. Thanks to the support we received from UNDESA and also GIZ. But now we want to go to the next level. We are responsible for developing continental policy, digital continental policy, and we want our African parliamentarian to be part of this policy, policy development, policy adoption, policy implementation, policy domestication. Today we rely on our member state to nominate candidates, and most of the time they are not parliamentarians. So we want to make sure that parliamentarians are incorporated in the policy development cycle within the African Union Commission. I think this is very important. It's a very concrete proposal. And we also want our parliamentarian to receive continuous training. I think it was mentioned all the time that they need continuous training. As I said, we are working with GIZ to get parliamentarians to participate in the African IGF, the UN IGF, but also now, thanks to our also collaboration with EU, we have a new program called PRIDA, which is Policy and Regulation Initiative for Digital Africa, aimed at providing capacity building for youth, parliamentarian, and establish national IGF and so forth. So we want to make sure that also they receive sustained capacity building because the environment is very dynamic, and it is important that they receive so that they can be also part of the policy development. then also we are very limited in terms of resources. We want to make sure that also during the UN processes, our parliamentarian can be part of this negotiation. We know that we have staff in New York, but we want to make sure that they get complemented by our parliamentarian network so that they can provide guidance and advice. And I think finally, I was also to echo the comments from the honorable parliamentarian from Nigeria. I think it's important to have a platform where parliamentarians from all over the world, they come together and exchange knowledge, expertise, what works, what doesn't work. So it's very important. So I think now we are doing it through the African IGF, the UN IGF, but I think it's important to have this separate track where all the parliamentarians meet and then exchange expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, African Union. We have our final two speakers, and of course, thank you, Tech, for indulging us a few more minutes. We're running a little over. Last two speakers, we have one from, I think it's Lilian from CIPESA. If you could be a little brief with your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I feel I'm under pressure because I'm holding you between now and the next session. My name is Lilian Naroga. I'm based in Kampala, Uganda, and I work with CIPESA, which is the Collaboration on International ICT Policy for East and Southern Africa. We are a non-government organization. We work around advocating for digital policies, inclusive digital policy making within Africa. And our work on the parliamentary track, we've been engaging with parliamentarians within Uganda and in East Africa, mainly on the issue of digital policy making. And I'm happy to hear APNIG being mentioned, because I think one of the key recommendations that came from APNIG is to strengthen national processes. And in Uganda, we have a member of parliament who is part of APNIG who went ahead and registered the Uganda Parliamentary Intergovernance Forum. And it consists of 31 members. They are very active. And this year, when we held the Uganda Intergovernance Forum, the Uganda Parliamentary Forum was launched officially by the Parliament of Uganda, and we had the Deputy Speaker of Parliament and the Minister were happy to launch this forum. So in terms of collaborating, the key message that perhaps I can put out to parliamentarians within this meeting is we listen so much, we have conversations at these processes, but when we go back home, we should be able to concretize and take action, and this is what we are seeing happening in Africa. And I think maybe in terms of collaborations, even if we don't know what's going to happen to the IGF after this, but these processes that have been established need to be able to provide input. So if there's APNIG in Africa, maybe there should be something in there's, I think, Eurodig or, other kind of, processes. So our work has mainly been around capacity building, and with support from GIZ, we currently are working at the East Africa community level, pushing for the adoption of an East Africa digital governance strategy, and we are working, we are training, working with members of parliament from the East Africa Legislative Assembly in being able to understand the policies, because one of the things is members keep changing, members of parliament keep changing, and this year we have elections. In Uganda, we don't know if the same members will come, but when we target at institutional level, working directly with institutions like, say, the Ugandan Parliament or the East African Legislative Assembly, then there will be continuity. So that's the key message that I wanted to share from what we are doing within East Africa, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lilian, for all that sharing. It's really good work, again, there coming from the Africa region. Our final speaker, the last word, we do have UNECA. I believe this intervention will be done in French.
Ask me to speak in French, it's okay.
I'm going to speak French.
innovation at United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Let me highlight some key activity undertaken by UNECA. I'm going to do it in French.
So what have we noticed at the level of the African continent? Parliamentarians play an important role when it's about the elaboration, drawing of laws on the internet in their countries, information technology and communication as well, not only in Africa, but in every country of the world. It's the work of parliamentarians to vote, to pass laws, to amend them if necessary. So what is the specific issue in Africa? Our parliamentarians are not well trained to use new tools because changes are extremely speedy. We talk about frontier technologies, AI. We talk about the Internet of Objects, nanotechnologies, biotechnologies. We have quantic technologies and so forth. So we have to keep up as a parliamentarian. Therefore, capacity building is of the essence for our African parliamentarians. We have modules, training modules on these specific technologies, blockchain, AI, so how to develop policy. We have guidelines for parliamentarians in order to help them pass policies on national policies on information technologies and communication. Recently, we organized the African IGF in Tanzania. We organized a course on AI. Same thing we replicated in Cotonou. We, of course, cooperate with the Secretariat of the IGF at the level of the African Union.
As Aria highlighted, it is knowledge sharing. We are developing now a knowledge sharing platform to share experience and best practices across the continent and across the other region. What is the best rule and regulation in terms of technology? How a country like America, Latin America, or Europe find a solution for the dis and misinformation, and why we are going to now to develop a strategy, African strategy guideline for mis and disinformation, because it is a big challenge across the continent. Also, we are going to work with several African countries to develop a platform for dis and misinformation to exchange all information or best practice across this policy. It is what we are doing now at UNECA, and I think, before I conclude, I would like to congratulate Celine for the successful organization of this African track, parliamentary track, and congratulations and well done. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Runeka. I think you should give yourselves a big round of applause. There's a very good best practices shared, resources shared. I think we heard that trust is the foundation of digital cooperation. I hear, we need to address power imbalances. I hear so many things. Conversation is here. It's here in the IGF. It's here in this room, in the corridors. I hope you take advantage of all of this. I've been asked to do a little bit of housekeeping as well. We will be meeting again at 12:30 for the final session of the day, but there is coffee break right now. IGF Secretariat has been very diligently gathering all the information that we heard during the session, and I believe they will be distributing and circulating all these resources to all of you. Thank you very much.